Could Bohemian Rhapsody, the upcoming Queen biopic, be getting a sequel? Stay tuned to find out. Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for checking out this video. Remember, if you like it, subscribe and make sure you check out our other Bohemian Rhapsody video where we talked about everything we expect to see from the film. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Bohemian Rhapsody and whether it could get a sequel. Now, there's nothing being confirmed or said officially about whether the film could get a sequel, and it's probably unlikely. But I think there's a few reasons why the door is still open for a potential sequel. Now, one of the rumours that's been going around about the first film is that it tracks Queen's career from their formation days in the early 70s through to mid-1980s, in 1985 specifically, and Live Aid. Now, Live Aid was seen as probably the greatest moment in Queen history, but it also is 6 years prior to Freddie Mercury's death, which is a pretty important part of the story if you ask me, especially if it's a film specifically about Freddie. Now, I talked about this in our previous Bohemian Rhapsody video, and I basically said that I couldn't believe that they would end the film at Live Aid, just purely because there's so much great material in the years following Live Aid, in between that and Freddie's death in 1991. But now we're hearing from a lot of people, some people who've seen screenings of the film, some people from the inside, saying that yes, the film actually does finish at Live Aid, and that is kind of the ending of the film, to finish on that celebratory high of Queen's success there. Now, on top of this, Freddie's death, I believe, will be touched upon, but it probably won't be as in-depth as it would have been had the film continued to follow the years after Live Aid. So when I heard about this, I began to think about, what about a potential sequel? So this is how I would see that film working, if they were to do it. So as the first film finishes at Live Aid, the second film starts at that precise moment. As Queen walk off the stage, they've had their big success, all the other celebrities and groups and bands that were at Live Aid talking about how Queen stole the show. The band are feeling rejuvenated, they're feeling a shot of energy. Suddenly Queen matters again, and they're a big deal, and they've just proven themselves on the world's biggest stage. From there we go on to see Queen getting back into the studio, full of energy and life again, recording One Vision, and going on to record the rest of the Kind of Magic album. Then we go on to Queen's European tour in support of the Magic album. Now, this is crucial because this was the point where, supposedly, Freddie started to feel like he wasn't as fit as he once was, like he didn't have the energy like he used to do after a show. You know, he felt much more tired, he felt much more lethargic, and this was seen as perhaps the first signs of his AIDS disease. Now, at this stage it was believed that Freddie, even though he had suspicions, probably didn't know for sure. He hadn't been officially tested. There are rumours going around that the first film could perhaps switch this around and have Freddie find out or have suspicions about his illness prior to Live Aid, which is okay by me. I'm fine with a bit of creative license, but I would suggest that they could still use that same storyline, still have Freddie feeling those effects as he starts to wear down over the course of time. Maybe finds out about the disease or has suspicions about it prior to Live Aid, and then it really starts to hit him during the Magic Tour. Following the Magic Tour, we have Freddie officially find out that yes, he is HIV positive and that he is dying of AIDS, and this is obviously going to be a very dramatic and emotional moment for him and everyone involved. But on top of this, we get this little kind of, I guess, mini arc within the film where Freddie gets knocked down, he gets this news and he gets sad, he gets depressed, he's hit rock bottom in terms of his emotional state. But somehow he finds a way to lift himself up. He's been given a death sentence, yet he still finds a way to channel his creativity. He still finds a way to power on and say, I still want to make music, I want to keep making music until the day I die, which is pretty inspirational if you think about it. From there we might get to see Freddie's solo project, the Barcelona project that he worked on with Montserrat Caballé. This is seen as one of his most proudest moments and one of his passion projects that he got to do outside of Queen. So I think it's important that a second film, if they did it, was to touch upon this and get to see that. Following that, Freddie and the band go back into the studio to record the Miracle album. Now, this is believed to be the first time that Freddie told the rest of his bandmates that yes, he was sick and that he was dying, which is again a really touching and emotional moment, and a moment that the film could really play off of. I think what's important about these last two albums, the Miracle album and the Innuendo album, it's really a time when the four guys in the band really bonded together and became like brothers again. They hit their strides again, their creativity was being fueled, they were creating some great music, but more so than that, they got to spend some real great time together, and I think the bond between them would be something that could really be drawn upon in this time. Now, as the story passes through the Miracle recording sessions, it then goes on to the Innuendo recording sessions. There's a really inspirational part of this story where Freddie, despite being so ill, still finds a way to power through and sing some great vocals. Now, if you've never heard Queen's Innuendo album, go check it out because it is quite inspirational to hear. Despite Freddie how weak he was and how sick he was getting, his vocals are still so strong and so powerful. Really, this is an inspirational part of the story that could be adapted so well into the film. Seeing him power through this and still find a way to record and put out this music that is his passion. And also interesting part of the Queen story that we could see in a potential sequel around this time as Freddie's health is getting worse is their relationship with the press. Now I have no doubt in the first film we're going to see Queen's relationship with the press throughout the 70s and really throughout their career. Queen did not get on with the press, and they often got really poorly reviewed and torn apart by journalists and music reviewers and all this kind of stuff, and it often meant that sometimes Freddie and the rest of the band didn't want to do interviews because they hated the way their words were being twisted. I think if they made a second film, it's an interesting opportunity to then mirror that storyline. The storyline we see in the first film about their relationship with the press, and then how it was again later in Freddie's life and later in the career of Queen, where Freddie was getting sick, he was very ill, and there were suspicions and rumours going around in the public about this, and the press were hounding them. They were hounding the band, they were hounding friends and family. They were taking photographs of Freddie's groceries as they were being delivered to his house to try and get some shots of potential medicine that could be there that would confirm that yes, Freddie was sick. So I think it could be an interesting way to mirror the plots and show how throughout the early stages they were treated poorly, and throughout these later stages yet again they were treated poorly by the press. As the story of the film continues on, we progress through the release of the Innuendo album, and then we reach the saddest point in the story, the death of Freddie Mercury. We might see scenes at Freddie Mercury's funeral and scenes with all the characters in the film, the major key players across both films, struggling to come to terms with the loss. Now, when you talk about stuff post Freddie Mercury, what to include in a film, I'm definitely someone who says we don't need to include any of the Paul Rodgers, Adam Lambert stuff. The stuff you could potentially touch on is seeing moments with Brian, Roger and John together, having these scenes where we feel like there's a presence missing. You know, if Rami Malek has played this role as well as a lot of people are saying, then we should all really come to like this character, and so when that character's no longer there, we should feel that presence missing and feel really upset that that person's no longer around, as the people who experienced it in real life did, and as the characters in the film will. You could also potentially touch upon stuff like the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, the Made in Heaven recording sessions, and then the last moment I think you could touch upon would be No One But You, which is the last song that really Queen wrote together to some extent. You know, you had Brian, Roger and John work on that song, and it's really one of the last things John Deacon did with Queen before he retired. I think it's the last moment where Queen kind of comes to an end and Queen Plus kind of takes over. So I think it'd be a good point to wrap up the potential second film. So guys, let us know down in the comments what you think about this potential idea. Could it be a good idea to have a sequel that covers everything from Live Aid through to the death of Freddie and maybe a little bit beyond that, covering everything in between, the Magic Tour, the Miracle and Innuendo albums and all this kind of stuff? Or do you think it's better just to leave it at one film and let all that other stuff be discovered later on? Now, honestly, in my opinion, I don't expect there will be a sequel, and I don't think they're planning on it. In saying that, if the film does well enough, a sequel could be potentially done. You know, there is enough storyline there is enough material there for them to build a second story. If you think it's a good idea, let us know in the comments. If not, let us know why down in the comments. And remember, before you leave this video, like, subscribe, share it around with your friends, just share it around with anyone and everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Following that, Freddie and the band go back into the band. What?
Oh shit, all that crap again?